Now, I rank Dallas most popular areas to live from worst to best based on things to do, cost, location, and more. And even though I love them all, you need to know exactly which areas are actually a good place to live and which ones you might want to avoid. Now, my name is Levi, and I've lived here for over 20 plus years in the Dallas area, and I've been in and out of every single one of these neighborhoods that are on this list, and I truly know what's the best and worst about them. So let's start off with number one. Now, just to give you some context, Dallas can be actually broken up into 5 major rings. First of all, you have the inner ring, and this is really the heart of Dallas, which is dense, fast-paced, and full of energy. And then you have the second ring, which is a little older, character-filled areas just outside the core. The third ring, which is classic, established neighborhoods with more space and a suburban feel. You have the fourth ring, which is quiet, family-friendly suburbs, and the outer ring, which is rapid growth areas with new developments, big homes, and wide open spaces. Now let's kick things off with the inner ring. Downtown Dallas and those neighborhoods everyone's always talking about. Now the big question is living in the heart of Dallas worth the insane price tag? Well, let's start off with Lakewood. Now let's chat about Lakewood first. And you've got White Rock Lake right beside it, killer schools for the kids, and this is a sweet mix of old and new homes. It's perfect if you want to jog around the lake in the morning and still hit up downtown restaurants at night. Now, as we move through the other rings, you'll see how these lakefront properties compare options farther out from the city center. And Lakewood's got this community vibe that's really super rare in Dallas. You've got families who've been there forever, and then you've got mixed in with young professionals willing to shell out some serious cash to get in one of the best school zones in the city. Now the homes there, they're all over the place, from historic properties with tons of character, modern builds, and they all come with that Lakewood premium. Now we're talking over $1 million for something small up to several million for lake views. Now what I really like about Lakewood is the balance. You get all of the city perks, but with the neighborhood vibes. Now weekends are insane with joggers circling White Rock Lake. I love to bike there myself, families flooding the parks, and farmers markets that are going crazy with activity. Then you jump over to Highland Park, and this is straight up where Dallas royalty lives. I mean, serious luxury. Schools are off the charts. Parks are gorgeous, and yes, you're paying through the nose for these homes, but if you can swing it, you're literally minutes from everything. Just wait until I tell you about the neighborhood 20 minutes north that's giving Highland Park a run for its money at half the price, and I'll get to that in just a minute. Now, Highland Park is Dallas's elite. The schools alone drive most of that demand. Prices start around $3 million and shoot into all the way to the moon from there, but half of these places don't even hit the market before they're gone. Now, Highland Park just isn't about the fancy houses, but really a whole lifestyle. It's actually separate from Dallas. And Highland Park Village for shopping and walking to beautiful parks, and the flex factor that comes with the address. And you know, I gotta be honest, I mean, I'm kind of partial to Lakewood. Something about grabbing coffee at the local coffee shop and then walking around the lake just feels like pure Dallas magic to me. I mean, Highland Park is gorgeous, no doubt, but Lakewood's got this genuine vibe that money just can't buy. Then we've got Bishop Arts and Old East Dallas, and these are super trendy neighborhoods, artsy, with all the cool historic homes and really cool spots that pull in young professionals and the creatives. Now, these areas work completely differently from the suburbs we'll cover later on, so keep watching to see that contrast. Now, Bishop Arts has blown up over the last decade from a total nobody rundown to one of the coolest spots in Dallas. I mean, it's jam-packed with indie shops, great restaurants, and of course the art galleries. And housing is the mix of fixed-up old homes with, of course, the new stuff, trying to capture that artsy feel. And then you've got Old East Dallas. My old stomping grounds has similar creative energy, but way more housing options, and everything from apartments to century-old homes that people have really poured their hearts into. And it's in this sweet spot, really established enough to have some good stuff, but still room to grow value. But here's the catch, you know, these spots are expensive. Living costs here are way higher, and that's something to think about, but is being near downtown really worth the premium? I mean, in a minute, I'll show you some neighborhoods where you can get similar amenities for about 30% less, so don't make any decisions until you hear about these other options as well. Now, hang tight as we move out from the city center and check out the areas that will give you a little bit more bang for your buck. All right, so let's move on to the second ring where you have a little bit more established luxury and mixed neighborhoods. And if you want the luxury living, but without the craziness of downtown, as I mentioned before, this ring has really some of Dallas's hottest addresses. So first up is Preston Hollow, and you want to know who might live next door. We're talking celebrities and all of the Dallas big shots. So here you have some massive estates, ton of privacy, lots of gated yards and areas, gorgeous mature trees everywhere. You get all that space. You can still get to downtown in no time. But Preston Hollow is kind of like Highland Park, but it's a little bit more chill. You got bigger lots, wider streets, and you feel pretty tucked away even though you're still close to everything. Now, some places here sit on multiple acres, which is crazy for being so close to downtown. The schools are pretty good, both public and private, which pulls in families who can afford it. And while there are definitely some pretty crazy looking mansions there, there's also a surprising variety if you know where to look. Now, I know people think Preston Hollow is just really for the ultra rich. That's not true exactly. There are some pretty big estates, but there are also some hidden pockets with more normal homes. And trust me on this one, don't write it off just because you've seen the crazy mansions on TV. The mix of property types is something you'll also see in some of the suburban areas, which we'll discuss here shortly. Now you have east of White Rock Lake, and that gives you the older homes mixed with the new builds, lake access, and a growing popularity among buyers looking for value and outdoor things to do. Now, this area is pretty fascinating because it's constantly evolving. Some parts are totally gentrified with prices to match, while others are still changing and really offer real value. And what ties all of this together is being close to White Rock Lake. You'll see mid-century modern homes. You'll see the old Tudors that have been updated next to brand new construction. The area pulls in all types from young families to empty nesters who really want nature without giving up the city perks. Now, what's wild about this zone is it's a total patchwork. I mean, with some spots offering really great value and others that are still developing. And so you really need to do your homework before buying in that area. Now, keep this in mind as we discuss the outer rings later, because the concept of patchwork neighborhoods becomes even more important the further out you go. Now, this is where having a really good agent is a make or break because the difference between streets can be night and day. So some blocks are solid with some strong appreciation, while others are still trying to figure themselves out. And you can't just really point to a map and pick a spot here. And these neighborhoods don't make headlines like Highland Park, but really, between you and me, they're heating up pretty fast. And I've been watching the prices climb year over year, and my clients who bought here just a couple of years ago are sitting very nicely on some equity. So you should keep an eye out on these areas. Now, are these neighborhoods going to keep climbing or are they going to plateau? But we'll see soon enough. But if you want that sweet spot of good amenities with really room to grow, this ring deserves a serious look, but don't get really too attached yet. The neighborhoods I'm about to show you next might completely change your perspective on where you want to live in Dallas. Now, hold up for just a second. If you haven't subscribed yet, you're leaving money on the table. But seriously, trust me, I'm not just another agent with a camera. I've sold over 500 homes just in the last couple of years here in the Dallas area to subscribers just like you who have been with me since the beginning, and they're sitting on some serious equity right now. So you'll want to be subscribed so that you can stay up to date on everything that's current in the Dallas market, because this is the #1 channel in Dallas. And go ahead and let me know in the comments as well which Dallas neighborhoods you want me to break down next. Now we've got the third ring, which is suburban growth, the family areas, and now we're hitting what I personally think is the sweet spot for most families. And I know the commute's a little bit longer, but for what you get in the space and the schools, it's actually worth it. And I'd take an extra 15 minutes in the car any day for twice the backyard. So let's talk about Coppell. And Coppell, I know I'm going to get roasted in the comments, but if you've been eyeing this area, there's some really great schools in that area. Parents go nuts for Coppell, that's how I say it. And you'll find kids actually riding their bikes all over the neighborhoods. There's lots of community things to do happening in every single weekend, and you'll be making friends with the other families in that area in no time. So Coppell schools are consistently top ranked in Texas, which is why homes in Coppell really fly off the market fast, often within days of listing. The school quality is something, and we'll compare that with other areas as we continue this video. So what makes Coppell so special is how it keeps that small town vibe while being super close to major employers. You're a quick drive from Toyota's headquarters, the massive Legacy West development, and the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. And houses are mostly single-family homes built in the 90s and early 2000s, though there's newer things popping up there as well. New construction here and there. Prices typically start around the $400,000 mark for the older homes, but they really climb up from there. Next up, though, is Addison and Carrollton, and they are blending the real suburban comfort with the city perks, giving you diverse food options, entertainment, and housing that won't really break the bank too bad. And these are areas offering pretty interesting alternatives to the fourth ring communities we'll discuss soon. So Addison especially packs a ton of restaurants, actually known as the restaurant capital of Dallas, and fun stuff into a real tiny area. I mean, it's famous for its food scene and events like Addison Kaboom Town fireworks on July 4th, and the housing is mostly apartments and townhomes, so it pulls in young professionals and empty nesters, but you will find some cool pockets of single-family homes. And Carrollton has a little bit more single-family homes at different price points, good schools, and more of a typical suburban feel. I mean, it's super diverse culturally, which shows in amazing restaurant options. The old downtown area has been totally revamped with shops and restaurants, giving it real character. Check out the Pocket Sandwich Theater, by the way. Then you have Far North Dallas and Farmers Branch. And these are really established neighborhoods with solid schools and parks. It's perfect for buyers wanting stability and value. And these areas give you some of the best bang for your buck if you want really good schools without going broke. And homes tend to be a little bit older, but they're pretty well built, mostly from the 70s and 80s, with decent yards and some mature trees. Now, what I love about these areas is that they really feel settled. The communities are stable, infrastructure works well, and there's a sense of permanence that the newer areas really kind of lack. All the trees are massive. That's a nice touch as well. And the suburbs might seem far from downtown, but honestly, they give you this really perfect mix of space and value and family-friendly stuff that the inner city neighborhoods really just can't match up with. But are these areas growing fast enough to be good investments? This is where things get really interesting, because in a moment, I'll reveal the suburb that's quietly outperforming every other area in terms of appreciation, and it's flying completely under the radar. Now let's look at what might happen down the road. Most of these established suburbs have seen a steady appreciation over time, and it's not the crazy spikes you might see in the trendier spots, but consistent growth that builds wealth over time. Then we move on to the fourth ring. So you got the mature suburbs and some new construction in there. And if you want new construction, or a hidden gem, these areas have options that you won't find elsewhere. Now, after we cover these mature suburbs, we'll move into the final outer ring where the real frontier opportunities exist. All right, so Plano has evolved from a bedroom community into a serious job center. Now you've got big companies like Toyota, Liberty Mutual, JP Morgan Chase that are setting up major campuses. The area's seen stable growth and pretty strong demand. Schools remain one of the biggest selling points, always ranking among Texas' best. Now, housing runs the gamut from older neighborhoods to some luxury communities and even urban-style mixed-use developments like Legacy West. Now, the challenge with Plano is it's pretty much built out, so new housing is limited. This keeps prices pretty strong, starting around $520,000 for older homes and shooting well into the millions for luxury properties. And then you have Richardson, and Richardson is seriously flying under the radar right now. I mean, it's super diverse with restaurant scene alone that is worth checking out. Schools are pretty solid, and all of these tech companies are moving in, and you're getting way more house for your money compared to closer in areas. Now, I keep telling people to check it out before everyone else catches on. Now, Richardson is absolutely my dark horse pick for 2025. I don't care what anyone else says. This area is seriously underrated, and the diversity here means the food scene is really exceptional, and if you haven't had Korean barbecue in Richardson, you're really missing out. And those tech jobs just keep coming, which is why I'm telling all of my investor clients to look here before prices catch up with reality, even for the families as well. And the area's got a perfect mix of established neighborhoods and new development. So you've got the telecom corridor bringing in good paying jobs, UT Dallas driving innovation, and the DART rail giving you easy access to downtown. Now, the housing here is incredible value compared to similar stuff in Plano or closer to downtown, and you can still find solid homes in good school zones starting in the high 300,000s, which is getting rare in the Dallas area. Plus, you're like 15 to 20 minutes to downtown. Then you have Wiley, Murphy, and Lake Lavon area. Now, these areas are growing like crazy with new homes. They've got reasonable prices and the bonus of lakeside living. And the lake areas make for an interesting comparison to Lakewood properties we discussed at the beginning. These communities on the east side have really blown up over the last decade, but still give you relatively affordable housing compared to areas west of Dallas. Now, Lake Lavon lets you get waterfront property at prices that would be pretty impossible closer in, and the lake has become a major recreation spot with boating, fishing, and water sports pulling in visitors from all over. Now, houses tend to be newer, with many of the neighborhoods built in the last 10 to 15 years. Newer construction is going nuts with the big builders developing massive master plan communities throughout that area. Now, don't sleep on these areas just because they're a little bit further out. With new homes and the steady growth, these areas are climbing, and you should definitely check them out if you want to invest or get more space with your family. Now, I've watched these areas transform over the last few years, and just keep hang tight with me because I'm about to spill some coffee on why some of these neighborhoods really might be your smartest move yet. Then we move to the outer ring, where you have pretty explosive growth and investment potential. And these are where the next big opportunities are. The outer ring is just blowing up, and it's the final ring that gives us the clearest picture of where Dallas is headed into the future. So you have Prosper and Salina, which are going nuts with growth, ranked as the #1 growing communities in the nation. They have great schools and some serious investment potential. The towns north of Frisco are seeing some of the fastest growth in the entire country. What was just farmland really just a few years ago is now turning into a massive master plan communities all over the place with amenities that rival luxury resorts. Schools are excellent. Prosper ISD especially drawing in families willing to make the longer commute for that quality education, and the area is pulling in young families and empty nesters looking for new construction and amenities. Now, home prices in Prosper start in the mid 800,000s for smaller places and easily hit over $1 million for bigger properties in the premium communities. And Salina is a bit cheaper to get into, but catching up fast as development pushes north. So when you compare these prices to what we saw in the inner rings, you can understand why so many buyers are really willing to make that commute as a trade-off. Then finally, we've got the Dallas Outer Loop, which is driving massive development, opening up new areas for homes and businesses and powering future growth. And this is a huge infrastructure project that is going to completely reshape northern suburbs. The 45-mile loop will connect communities from Denton County through Collin County and into Rockwall County, even down to Kaufman County, which will create new corridors for developments and jobs. Now, areas along the planned route are seeing speculative development and land banking as investors position themselves for future growth. And places that seemed too remote a few years ago are now looking like potential hotspots. Now, while the outer ring gives you opportunities for appreciation, rapid change means buyers should consider the risk before diving in. Look, now, let's not play around. Buying out here really isn't for the faint of heart. It's for the visionaries. It reminds me of Frisco 15 years ago, and we all know how that turned out. But if you've got patience and a bit of a, pioneer spirit, these outer areas could be your golden ticket. But if you need everything established and perfect right now, then maybe just stick a little bit closer in, but just being real with you. So the potential upside in these areas is massive with growth as it continues as expected, and home prices could see some really serious jumps as amenities develop and commutes improve with the new roads. But there's always a risk when you're on the cutting edge of development. These areas are definitely the wild cards of Dallas. And yeah, they're a bit of a hike, but they're growing so fast you don't really want to miss out on these opportunities if you're looking for long-term gains. Now, are these places just trends or will they become the future hotspots of Dallas? Well, you'll want to know before everyone else does, and that's why staying on top of development plans and road projects is really important when looking at these outer areas. And look, I'm not just some guy making videos. I literally live this stuff every single day. And after calling 3 different areas in Dallas home and helping hundreds of clients find really their perfect match for them, I can tell you there's really no best neighborhood. There's just the best neighborhood that is for you, which is why we always encourage a one-on-one conversation. You can find all of our contact information below. And if you're thinking about making that move to Dallas, we would be very happy to help you make a smooth move to Dallas. And if you want to know what's a big factor of driving all this growth, check out this video on why so many Californians are moving to Dallas. And until then, well, we hope to show you around town.